There we go. Now we're live. It's really good to see you, by the way.
Good to see you. So what's
How have
the
you been?
topic? What's the topic of the day?
We can just wing it as we go. I've been kind of working on healing past lives through meditation. So maybe we could discuss that a little bit, because there's a lot
That's
of
great. Yeah, so we're in the realm of stories. Yeah.
yeah.
And welcoming the dream of it. Because it's so wild that to stay sane, the brain enters this state for hours and hours in the cycle of 24 hours we call sleep and dreaming. And we'll die after a few months if we don't get any sleep. The body starts to break down. And dreaming, think about what a dream is. The brain, the nervous system, your being,
Yeah.
it writes a story, directs it, acts in it, lights it, does the camera angles, and witnesses it. It's all the characters and also the ground that they're standing on and the space that they're in. And we do this many times a night. And the instinct to tell stories is deep. Like if you watch birds and animals, like they sound like they're talking to each other and telling stories.
I'm sure they are.
And yeah. And so with human beings, there's layers of stories that we're always in some ways, that because the atoms we're made out of have stories. They're basically immortal. And yet the atoms that we're made of are always changing. They're always flowing in and out. We're not made of the same matter as we were a few years ago. And so what reincarnates? Like the story of consciousness, the adventure. And who is it that reincarnates? What's your sense about what is it that persists? Like how far back do your past lives go?
I consider us to be basically like disassociated subpersonalities of source, really. We're all just disconnect. I mean, there's obviously a connection that is unconscious that we are all mildly aware of, but when it comes to that super conscious mind, I think the super conscious mind is aware of everything at all times across multiple dimensions and timelines. We also have the filter of the ego, the personality we've been developing since we took this physical body. And I do think that all of the egos that we develop across all the parallel lives are linked subconsciously. And that when I do clearings on people, I have noticed that sometimes those egos can bleed into another reality and cause some issues with all kinds of things. So it's taking in the more positive aspects while trying to heal the more negative aspects, such as the triggers and the pain and many other things that we carry with us still from those lives.
So what are some of your favorite books in this realm that map out
Michael Newton's books are phenomenal. Dolores Cannon, there's quite a lot of people that have been studying parallel lives through hypnosis, and that is always wonderful. But even just through mediumship and connecting with the higher self, I imagine you probably connected with other versions of yourself during meditation, yes?
Yeah. I'm just.
Oh, you cut out. Couldn't hear you there.
They all have.
There we go. Now it's back.
They have different impose a structure on what, like when you use ego, you're meaning it in a positive sense, right?
No, I don't
But
think of the ego as negative. I personally,
you
you
see the
know,
ego as negative.
no, I don't. I don't see the ego
Yeah,
as negative. I think that the ego is you. Why would I think? You know what I mean? It's like if the ego is you, it's the you you've been developing since you took this body. You know, all the good, the
yeah.
bad, and the in between. So of course it's a good thing. It's just whether or not it's a healthy ego or whether or not it needs some assistance with understanding certain lessons. And I don't know. I guess it all depends on the perspective.
I'm trying to get the sound to play
No, you're fine. You can hear me okay though?
to here. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Let's see if it works. Come on, little AirPods.
Hmm.
Cannot control mic with AirPods Pro. Okay, well, let's just play the sound through here. Oh, I see. It's got separate.
Gotta love all the tech stuff with Mercury retrograde.
I know it definitely Mercury retrograde.
Yes, I've been having issues all morning
It's
myself.
odd the way that ego is used negatively in all of the American self-help stuff.
Well, I mean, if you use the word egotistical, if you think about it, you know what I mean? That's kind of ingrained in much of our understanding of the ego.
Yeah,
Um,
but that's a different word.
yes, I agree. Just laughing about the fact that many of us don't really even understand what the ego is, and yet we're trying to condemn it most of the time.
Yeah, that's good. They don't even know what ego is,
I
and they're
know.
denigrating it. Yeah, in general, in American self-help stuff, it's negative.
I think there's duality in everything, really, if you think about it. Because obviously, if you're going to have an aspect of anything, there's going to be positive and negative, I guess. Things that you'd rather heal versus things that are more positive in nature, such as triggers, for example, because even triggers are a good thing because they show you what you need to heal. It's really
Yeah,
down perspective.
yeah. And there's this thing called psychobabble, and it probably started way earlier, probably in the 40s or 50s. It's where people are flinging these terms around from psychology and just kind of babbling with them without knowing what they mean. And
Seems like something they create to disregard something. You know, call it psychobabble. They like to label things that they don't really understand.
yeah, and triggers, like there's so much confusion in American culture because the idea that if somebody's triggered by something, that they're entitled to be offended.
Well,
Like college students
nowadays, the
studying.
whole PC thing about being offended isn't even next level, considering the politics around these things, you know?
Yeah. So you've been doing past life clearing, is the way that
Yes.
it's what you said.
Yeah, we
And
call
so
them
in
past life resonances.
past life resonances,
Yes.
tell me more. Tell me more.
So they're basically, when we do a clearing on somebody, we check their etheric, we see what active trauma they have. And a lot of these
Mhm,
past life resonances are active trauma from other lifetimes. Sometimes they
mhm,
manifest as an injury, as like phantom pain. Other
mhm,
times they manifest as an anxiety or some kind of a trigger that you might have.
mhm,
Like let's say claustrophobia, if you died somewhere, you know what I mean, and then you come in this incarnation and you can't stand tight spaces, there may be a reason for that, a hidden reason. So unhealed aspects may even be related to unhealed issues from past lives that we never got the opportunity to heal
That's
previously.
so interesting. So then that's why I brought up the concept of story and dreams and how the brain dreams all the time. Because when we enter the realm of a past life
Mm.
recall or resonance, there's the creative challenge to rewrite the story or accept be in that plot and then direct it to a better resolution.
It's really funny you say that, Lauren, because that is what the guides recommended for healing some of these. Like one lady that we did a clearing on, she was having nightmares about being abducted. So we went to check and see if she's an abductee in this lifetime. And she wasn't in this lifetime, but what she was seeing was a previous lifetime in her dream state. And so when we sent healing down that timeline and we asked about it, and they basically explained, like, this is an active trauma that they're trying to rewrite for her. And when she keeps having these dreams, they're giving her the opportunity to change the end result.
That's right. And that's what the brain is always wanting to do, is to recreate and make a better result. Yeah.
Yeah.
To take the raw material of the story that we're in. And
Yes. And
so
that was their
it's
advice
wild
to, sorry, go
that
ahead.
that we find ourselves in the middle of stories, not just past life stories, and here I am. And and a culture is a series of stories,
Mm.
and a family is a series of stories. So there's these layers of stories, and by default, we're just a character who's given a script, and we forget that we're a character. We're a background character or a foreground character in the story that's sort of sleepwalking through our lines, and then we we forget we get glimpses sometimes. Oh, I can rewrite, and we keep forgetting that there's material we've been given. There's the story of the universe, the story of planet Earth. There's our story, and that we are creators. We can write, we can take the material we're given and and write some new scenes that we're capable of writing anyway. We're acting, we're witnessing, we're the audience, and we're the scene itself, and we're our own background characters.
We are, especially in the regards of source. We are all one technically from the macros perspective, I guess.
Yeah, we're all made out of the same stuff. It is wild when you change perspective. Camille and I have been saying, as we watch astrophysics shows and the photographs from the space telescopes, well, it's just a baby universe. It's a teenage universe. It's only 13.8 billion years old. It's just getting going.
Yes. We have a lot to learn then.
Yeah. So it's the astrophysicists say that, for example, our sun is like a third generation sun. When did our solar system come into existence? Maybe 4 billion years ago, something like that. And so if the universe is, say, almost 14 billion years old, so it's about a third of the age of the universe. The universe was like 8 billion years. And so the first suns were just hydrogen and helium, but the suns that lived 13 billion years ago, in their hearts, they alchemically fused some heavier elements. there's like calcium and iron and carbon. And then when they orgasmed like a flower, they sent their material out into space. The next generation of stars started with a little bit of carbon and calcium and oxygen and all the way up to iron. And they can see this in the spectrography. You can look at a star basically, and even hundreds of years ago, take a star and have a prism and then take its light, turn it into a rainbow, and you can read the spectrum lines. So they can tell what a star is made up out of. They can tell, like, if a star has calcium and iron in it. So the second generation stars have a little bit more, and the third generation stars have more. So our solar system started with some of these heavier elements that come from the life cycles of the previous stars. And we're made out of this. And so on a physical level, we're the same as far as the scientists can tell. And these are people that can make hydrogen bombs. So they're not just making theories. We're made out of the same stuff as everywhere. And there's incredible amounts of energy inside even simple matter like hydrogen. Matter is this condensed energy. So just on a physical level, who we are is completely mind-boggling. Like we're made out of dancing energy particles.
There was a client that I did a clearing on the other day, and the soul guides told me, they said her hair and fingernails are growing, are glowing. That was what they said, are glowing. And I said, how are they glowing? And they said, well, they've been activated recently through light codes that are coming through. And I said, well, why her fingernails and her hair? And they said, well, that's the oldest part of you. That is the part of you. You may grow it yourself, but there's actually DNA that goes back to the original humans that exist in your hair and your fingernails. So this is why this is why hair and nails is so powerful when used in spell work too, because that carries knowledge dating back to the original humans. Like we're talking
Hmm.
millions and millions of
Yeah.
years ago.
Did you ever read Dune?
Yes.
On Dune, they have genetic memory. They're
Yes.
accessing, and it's
Exactly what I'm getting at.
like reincarnation through genetic recall. And I've never read a good explanation of how reincarnation works and what
Mm.
exactly reincarnates. Um, like the I, ego means I, and in Sanskrit, aham, and it's the sense of the individuality. And like a sun is an individual,
Yeah.
a
Yes, it's
planet is an
conscious.
individual.
Mm-hmm.
Planet,
Yep.
then the solar system is it's an individual solar system, and then the galaxy, billions or hundreds of billions of of solar systems is in a way an individuality. And individuality is precious. So how do we hold it? Because it's so confusing just to be an individual human being and like just work and be a member of the culture and have friends. It's so challenging just to be a person. How do we cope with the sense of, well, I'm also immortal? How do we hold how do we hold all that? And how do we have it be healthy?
Mm.
Um we live at the beach And once around 1975, when I was deep and really intense training in clairvoyance and doing individual sessions, attuning to people. My interest was someone says, like, what's the best meditation practice for this person? Because to me, our meditation practice, our daily practice, is a way of being with all of who I am and what's my next step. Like what talents, what skills, what insights are wanting to come in and be my ally to get through today.
Mm.
And the attunement of the physical body and the subtle bodies. So in the anatomy, in yoga anatomy, we have a physical body and a prana body, which you can feel. It's a vitality body,
Mm.
and the prana is magnetic. It's magnetic energy that's spiraling into the flesh. It's coming in to touch and bless and activate and nourish the flesh. And then there's like a love body, a mind body, a bliss body. There's subtle dimensions, and the bodies are all right here.
Yeah.
And we can clairvoyant painters, will make these spectacular drawings where there's a human, the body is inside like a cathedral or a temple of
Mm.
beautiful flowing patterns of light.
Yes.
And so having past life memories would be would go with connecting our flesh and our physical brain with the subtle dimensions, with the subtle energy bodies. So I spent many years um, in this, where I just wanted to use my sensitivity to help people discover practices that you can do every day. Because
Yeah.
I love having deep meditation available. And I love helping people find that way to be as if it's like listening to music, your favorite music. The meditation can be like I'm bathing in the current of my aliveness. I'm bathing in the music. I'm listening to the universe sing to me. My and then I'm feeling my personal song. So that charges me up to live my particular life. So I was deep in this training, and I remember it just popped up. I haven't thought of her in a long time. I was taking a walk, and I was walking along the beach. And so I was 25, and there was like this very pretty black gal riding her bicycle. And somehow she struck up a conversation with me. She's there on her bike and just high spirited. She's just so full of life. And she goes, "Well, I know I was a queen in my past life and I was really bad." She said it with such joy and connection. Like she really owned it. Like and it was so healthy. Like, because it's like, I know what it's like to have power.
Yeah.
And then I know what it's like to make the joy of it and to abuse power. And,
Yeah.
and so she's on the edge of being responsible. She's aware of her responsibility of using power, using our gifts, our God-given gifts, and possibility of making amends that someone could say to her, be a good queen, don't be bad. Don't be abusive.
Don't be a naughty queen.
Yeah, I mean, if I was 20, I never know how old people are anymore. If I was 25, yeah, maybe she was 20 or 19, but the joy in her eyes, where she was connected to a realm of experience, and she felt like I'm here in this body now, and I can do it better. And I'm gonna enjoy being human. I'm gonna I'm gonna milk it to the most. I'm gonna go for it. I often, wonder how people turn out. Is it
I
I do
I
sessions with people and let them go. I don't start a cult. I don't have a cult. Like people that are teachers might study with me for years, but I work with people and let them go, and I wonder how it would be great to hear how she turned out. But that was a very healthy way of connecting with past lives. And
yeah.
then in my training, I met a lot of people who were so confused. They had incredible perception on some levels, and they're very confused in their personal life and abusive.
Well, this is why a lot of us are dealing with personality aspects that we don't even really understand. If you look at a baby, babies all have personality. They're not a blank slate when they come in here, even though you
Yeah.
may have like very little understanding of the world around you. There's a lot going on subconsciously.
Do you have kids?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
How many?
One, he's off of school today, already driving me bonkers on his tablet, making loud noises while I'm on the
How
podcast.
how old is he?
He's going to be turning 9 in February, and he's a very old soul. Like literally, people
Mhm.
come up to him all the time and they say, "Your son is such an old soul," and
Yeah.
I laugh. I'm like, "You have no idea."
Yeah. Yeah. My mom had 5 kids, and she said she could feel it in the womb, like in her belly. They had their own complete distinct personalities. They were
Absolutely.
completely distinct individuals from the get-go.
I think what happens, and I got this from Dolores Cannon and Michael Newton's teachings, but they say that your physical body can only house so much energy, so much consciousness, so much spirit. And then as the body grows, it can allow more light, more knowledge to come in, and you end up getting more light code downloads, more of yourself comes in. And this is what some people call it to be soul braiding. Some people call it to be, just downloads, things like that, but you end up becoming more of your true self as
Yeah.
you age because you're pulling in these other
Yeah.
versions, these other
Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah. I was watching an interview with Denzel Washington yesterday. It it's one of those things on TikTok. I've been training TikTok to show me what kind of stuff I like. And in the interview, he looked like he was his immortal self. Like he was talking with a young guy, and he said he was saying, "What I'm here to do is not in the movies. Yeah, what I'm here to do is like demonstrate that you can live in the grace of God," something like that. And and as he was saying that, he looked like there in a physical body and his whole personality that he was at one with his immortal self. And
Mm.
it's so delightful to see that. I love seeing that. I love this process of when we here in the physical merge with our true self. In Sanskrit, it's Svarupa, your true body. It's about being in your true body.
Is this in the Radiant Sutras? Because I picked up some books over the last week or so.
Oh, yeah,
Yes, and I'm reading through the poetry. I love it so much. I mean, there's just so much insight into this, and it just goes to show that knowledge doesn't really age, does it?
no, that the text, it feels like it's from the future. Um,
It does.
it's so crazy. I really should have my head examined. I spent over 20 years just interviewing meditators um, as part of my research at the University of California, just listening to people talk from inside the body, inside the kind of spontaneous clairvoyant perception and articulation. of people who are connecting with themselves. And then in the Sanskrit, the language is a song and a poem, the Sanskrit word, and it has all these clues to the embodiment practices, what it feels like to be in that state of perception. So I integrated the research on the language of meditation with the language from this classical text. It's maybe from 800 AD or so. It showed up, and parts of it are earlier, and the Sanskrit is thousands of years earlier. So I brought together the language that meditators use with the language clues, the wisdom encoded in Sanskrit. And so that was about 40 years of experience. So that there's just two paragraphs that sum up 100. What I wanted to do is have there be a page like that. Why don't you open the book to a
Hmm.
page towards like the first third, yeah.
Yep.
So that you can look at a page, and there's hundreds of behind it. There's hundreds of pages of
Yes.
mapping and experience, and you can recognize the meditations that you already know and that you're in.
I love how you make it so easy to pronounce the words too, because some of these words are very long and hard to pronounce. So that helps.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Um they cheated a little. Um each verse in Sanskrit is 32 syllables. It's about 13 or 14 seconds of chanting. So it would be there used to be professional chanters before iPhones and before like Spotify and before you have a playlist, there'd be people who, since being children, like since age 6, were just trained to speak Sanskrit perfectly with all this tongue yoga and make these sounds really clear and then memorize months of chanting. That's how they did it.
Fascinating.
And so the text was sung or chanted. They didn't trust paper because in India, the bugs will eat the paper. And they thought about thousands of years in advance. These these meditators thousands of years ago, they really thought, how can I encode this so that even thousands of years in the future, this text will be available? And I think also they're going like, what if I reincarnate in the future on the other side of the world? How will I get access to this? Like this handy guide for tuning in to your immortal self. So it's so short that the whole text, and if we just wrote it out, it'd be 14 pages, about 35 minutes of chanting. And so to pack it in, sometimes they would drop syllables and yeah, just 5 or 10 places in the text. Hey, that's cheating because they had to make each line 8 syllables.
I was going to
So
say
it's
it's definitely altering the frequency to shorten it then.
yeah, it does alter. It does, but they had to make it to make sure that the text that the chanter um could know. Okay, it's 8 syllables, so it'd be like Shutam Deva, Shutam Deva, Maya Sarvam. That'd be 8 syllables. Rudra Yamala Sambhavam. It's they like 8 series of 8 syllables, and then four little packages of those 8 syllables make 32. So they'd sometimes to make sure it fit into those 8 syllables, they cheated, they dropped something. And yeah, it's a little hard to decode sometimes. But it's it's a thing we do in every language. Like there used to be motor hotels because
Yeah.
probably back in the when cars were invented. So the word probably came around in the 1920s or 30s, motor hotel. Nobody says motor hotel, they say motel.
Yeah.
It's a compound word, motel. So in Sanskrit, they do that constantly. They can make up these compounds. So my sense, and this, because actually to me, it doesn't seem that long that I've been playing with this text for 56 years. That doesn't seem that long to me. Like I've listened to maybe a few thousand people in depth where I would just listen for a couple of hours as they unfold their deep experience. And in groups, how many thousand, who knows how many thousand people I've listened to in groups of 10 or 20 or 30 or 40. And it just doesn't seem that long because human experience is so vast.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we come across is these currents of information that are like past lives. And really the question is like, how do we use all this information and energy so that we're healthy individuals today, right here? That we're able, in yoga, there's this concept of these four purposes of life. There's love and sensual pleasure, love in all of its forms, including sexual love, and for love of friends, any love of art, love of music. There's
Love of nature.
freedom.
Mm.
There's freedom, and freedom in all of its implications. Freedom to be yourself, and if you want freedom from the cycle of rebirth, if you want freedom and work and dharma, the honor offering, just unselfishly offering to the higher good. So it's kama, moksha, artha, dharma. And it's all one desire, which is to live a full life. And like, it's so confusing just to be an individual. How do we navigate this and how do we include past lives without becoming just even more of a hot mess than we all are? I think it's a challenge and we need to figure it out.
Well, I feel that us humans, we've been working on developing this for thousands of years. We've slowly been understanding ourselves in a more spiritual nature. And it's almost like a roller coaster because we have an uptick in consciousness and then we have a plunge in
Yeah.
consciousness.
Well, when you said that, and I thought of ancient Greece and the mysteries in Egypt and,
Yes,
and India and Tibet. What it felt like all of a sudden was that they had a much better handle on it than we do now.
of course they
It
did.
just
Yeah.
it felt like, oh, we've been getting more confused. Uh, but that could just be, who knows where that experience
I
comes
think
from.
that's part of the
Me,
design personally. There's a lot of beings on this planet that have a vested interest in keeping ourselves ignorant and subservient.
yeah.
So
The battle
unfortunately,
goes.
when
The
you're
battle
trying to
goes
keep
on.
people
Yeah,
enslaved, you can't allow them to have a spiritual awakening because then they realize they're not slaves.
yeah, that's right. So there's the issue of the opposite of freedom, and then
Mm.
what work do we need to do to inhabit our freedom? One thing that, um, like, we all have these devices. So I live at the beach in California, in Southern California, and it's so beautiful and clean, and things work. And maybe one person out of 20 or 30 or 50 is walking around going, God, the world is so great. I'm so grateful. Thank you, God. Most people that I know, uh, because of the technology, like they walk the dog looking at their phone, they drive looking at their phone. and the numbers are insane. Like even adults are spending 8 hours a day or more looking at some sort of screen, and people are more bound, imprisoned than ever. There's very few people that are just like living large. The awareness is actually shrunk.
And yet there's more knowledge in this thing
There's
than
more
there ever
knowledge.
was, before in
Yeah, you can
something
just
this
say,
small.
"Hey, read me some of the world's greatest poems," and you could look at the world's greatest art, even though it's little, it's still you can see. And most people I know are enslaved by their phones and their devices. They believe they believe what they're seeing, and it's a commercial medium. It's a kind of a movie. It's the reason why the media companies, Facebook or whoever, are worth hundreds of billions, is because there's algorithms that track how to keep you engaged. And what works is fear and outrage. If they keep on like scratching fear and outrage, if they keep on getting you addicted to that, you'll spend more minutes online and they can sell ads. And so there's robots studying every single human being on the planet and building a kind of a voodoo doll of them. There's
Mhm.
there's millions of bits of data about everybody that uses a phone. And there's robots, individualized algorithms they're called, that are just there doing anything that works to get you to spend more time looking at whatever the feed is.
Yep.
And so it's very strange. Like people that I've known for years that have been like enlightened, actually devolved over the last 10 years. They'll be their world has shrunk because they just that one YouTube video or something that cunningly designed, it got implanted in their mind like a mind virus. And so they have a case of long COVID. They have their vitality is drained and they're working inside this delusion
Yeah.
that something got to them, and they've shrunk in fear, and it's very strange to watch. I've been saying a couple months ago, I started saying to Camille, like another one bites the dust. So, um, because with some great friend of ours who used to shine and sort of be living in enlightenment, they're they're like living in a shell. They're Jesus like sort of said this. It's like it's as if you own a mansion, you have this beautiful home, and you're living in a little dark corner, like you're living in a moldy closet. And that's what people look like. That people, because our devices are so seductive. The other day, I was driving right near here. I was coming back from Costco, which I love, and I'm sitting at a stoplight, and the guy next to me is in a gorgeous new Porsche convertible. It's a beautiful black Porsche. The guy was he's maybe 55 and had tan interior. So I don't know how much a new Porsche costs. I imagine it's 120, 140,000. And it's this beautiful sunny afternoon. The light is spectacular. We're just about a mile inland from the beach. There's the ocean air blowing, and he's sitting like this. He's sitting at the steering wheel. And so I yelled at him. I said, dude, you're in California. You're in a Porsche convertible. Why aren't you listening to rock and roll and living large? And he went like that. I said, you're right. I mean, with the hypnosis is so deep. We all can get sucked in. And
Hmm.
it feels like my friends are devolving as they get ensnared in stories. And so they lose track of their own, like what you're saying, the resonance of the past life, and get seduced in fear. Because that's basically the way that our phones and computers make the most money. The reason why they're multi-billion, multi-hundred billion things is because they've learned how to teach fear, to transmit fear of the world, and it's working. I've seen so many people who are like, I want to say to them, you're one of the most privileged, safest people that has ever lived in the history of planet Earth. You literally are, and you're walking around moping, feeling like a victim. So it's wild. It's like in the past life there were black magicians, and there were the Darth Vaders.
They're still around.
Yeah, but
They're
it's
just well
almost like
hidden.
the internet and our phone to become a way for Darth Vader to reach out and grip people and dominate them. It's all here. Our
Funny you
phones
say that
are
because I know a lot of people that deal with psychic attacks, and part of the psychic attacks they get is what we call the throat choke, where you literally can be, yeah, that's a real thing.
so in a way. So it's the same old, but
Mhm.
takes different forms. The psychic attacks. Yes,
Yeah.
psychic attacks. You're right. It feels like they've been um, very popular. They have to
Well, especially
destroy someone.
recently, as the frequency goes up, they start to panic and they try to do things to keep the frequency low. So that's why you're going to notice like some humans are evolving rapidly while others are starting to de-evolve. And it's the fear, it's that fear virus really is what
Yeah.
it all goes down to.
It's interesting. Like, is Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, are those like still the messages for our time? I mean, it's really interesting. In Lord of the Rings, most of the magicians turned evil, or at least Sauron and
Abuse of
Saruman.
power.
Yeah, they became like they slaveholders, like um and in Lord of the Rings, the Jedi's turned evil. Oh, it could be that these classical myths are still what we need. It's just that
True.
the particular weapon, we're not using lightsabers and the Force. It's the internet.
Now we're just calling it chi instead of the force,
We're calling it chi instead of the Force, or prana.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is so strange. Like, I thought when I was a teenager, and I started studying tantra and meditation, and I started seeing past lives, and I thought it was just projections of my unconscious, until for a couple of years, until I realized, oh, that's actually like a perception, a memory. I
Mhm.
thought that, oh my God, like, if I'm, in 30 or 40 years, there'll be all these people who've been meditating for 30, 40, 50 years, and they'll be so much fun to talk to. But in fact, like, a lot of people like me are just sort of, they're lost in guru cults, and have sort of shrunk because it's just too much narrowed the focus.
Yes, that's why
Like,
they
I
say the
I
best
don't
teacher is
do
you.
the people that are fun to talk to are, and my friends, they all take mushrooms and ayahuasca and ecstasy and marijuana. They're drug they're more on the drug path. But they're more fun to talk to, because when they'll do mushrooms, it, this is my feeling about what they're doing. It's like, okay, God, it's just like you and me, let's go. Like, hit me. I'll
Come
go
at me,
through the
bro.
journey. I'll go through
Yes.
the whole Star Wars, Lord of the Rings. I'll go through the whole cycle. You can clobber me, but like wake me up. And meditators are more like it's just calm down, let's shut things off. Because it's
Yeah.
this question like how to be healthy with clairvoyance and multidimensional perception, and how to use all this to have a great day today. Because if we're immortal, if we are somehow a continuation of many many past lives, then it's even more important to have a great day today and be really intact and really useful, like having a good time, be in love, be perceptive, and help make the world a better place. It's even more important, and that's getting lost.
Yeah. It's a beautiful way of looking at it. And I appreciate that because a lot of us, we waste days all the time. A lot of us just end up doing the same monotonous stuff. You get a day off from work, I'll spend it on the couch. I just need to veg out for today.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. I mean, if we're immortal, so that means that we're responsible. Like that, 20,000 years from now, we could be thinking, "Man, I was living in such an interesting time, and I didn't live my full self. I didn't go for it.
yeah.
I didn't wake
A
up."
lot of it is due to escapism too. A lot of us are, rather than making the most of it and fixing things, this is where cannabis is a thing for me. Because in much of my life, I'm now recognizing the fact that rather than changing things that I didn't like, I would just smoke a joint and get over it. You know what I mean? Like rather
Yeah,
than doing something to change it, I would just escape from it because it
yeah,
was quicker and easier that way.
yeah, yeah. Marijuana affects me like LSD affects other people. I smoked
Imagine.
maybe a dozen times in my life, and maybe 35 years ago, I'm in Hawaii, and it complete. I feel an incredible journey with it. But these substances are incredibly valuable. How to use them as a service, and I took mushrooms.
Use it as a medicine and not a crutch, really, because there's
Yeah,
a fine line between using it and
yeah,
abusing it.
yeah, yeah. I took mushrooms up high up on Mount Shasta maybe 35 years ago, and it was the most incredible experience. And I'm still earning my way or living my way into fully embodying what the universe was teaching me.
Yes. That's the whole point of our being here, trying to figure out what the universe is trying to teach us. But I wanted to mention your other book that you have, because obviously we have the Radiant Sutras. For those of you who have never seen Lorin before, Lorin is one of our favorite regulars to come on the podcast. The Radiant Sutras is one of his wonderful books. This is the one that's got the Sanskrit in it. But then we also have Meditation Secrets for Women that I'm very excited to get into. And
Yeah,
I love the picture of
yeah,
you and Camille on the back, by the way. It's a great
mhm.
photo.
Yeah. It's from
And
2001, I guess, 2024 years ago.
wow.
Yeah. So that both of those books are just handy guides, things you can read. You can open anywhere and read a paragraph or a sentence, or you can start at the beginning and work your way through. You can start at the end and go backwards. And
Yes.
they're guys just helping figure out what's my practice, what's a daily practice that I can do. So I wake up in the morning and I'll and tune into myself and have a better day. That's what Camille and I have been up to for me the last 55 years. Camille a couple of years less. Is it- What works for people? and helping people discover what works to have a great day. And like the yoga concept is love, experiencing, giving and receiving love, freedom, earning our freedom, inhabiting our freedom, satisfying work that's also rewarding. So we're giving, skillfully giving our time and energy to the world and receiving a reward. Like it's like business and property and money, and offering to the greater good, the dharma, the higher
Yeah.
purposes. And so like what we're really all talking about is tuning into that. And it's so substantial. I mean, we can give 10 or 20 minutes to tuning in to our essential self, and it's a different day.
Mm.
It's even for me, after more than half a century of meditating, when I give myself the full tuning in the morning, it's it's like I'm in a different body with much more enhanced senses. Like colors are brighter, sounds are more beautiful, tastes are richer, and I'm better. And how do we find that? It's finding that, and it's somewhat different for each of us, and it's so worth it. So the books are offerings to of clues that we found and that the thousands of people we've worked with have found. So we condense that so that you can tune in and clue in. Because one of the things that humans do is they learn skills and they pass them on. That's one of the joys of being human is we use
Yeah.
language and we code skills and then teach the next generation. Like when I was 18, by just a miracle, I was around all these geniuses, and they were just saying, "Here, kid, here's the best thing I ever learned in a
Mm.
lifetime of exploring. Like, just take it and run with it." And they would give me this immortal stuff, this timeless, incredibly useful. It's like, here's the key to your own secret bank account where you have millions of dollars stashed that you didn't know about. It's like, here's the key. And then using that key, so you have this wealth of insight and energy. And that's what it is all about. It's living in this like abundance of love, freedom, perception. And one of the things I really enjoy is how surprising life is when I live this way. Like the richness of spontaneity.
Yes. Mm. Beautifully said. Thank you so much, Lauren. And I
It's always
really,
good talking with you,
I wanted
Laura.
to also mention you've got a class coming up. Daniela was telling me.
Yeah, well, I train meditation teachers. I started in the early 70s training meditation teachers. And so like 50 some years on, I'm I'm still training meditation teachers. And there's a class coming up. The If you just go to radiantsutras.com or lorinroche.com, you can see um, training people in mantra, how to how to how um, to tune into your and create a mantra that you love so much that it just feels like me. It leads you to be in attuned with yourself, your physical body, and your soul. And if you're a teacher, how to create mantras for other people.
Wonderful.
And
I'm going to
we do meditation teacher training. Yeah, so just go to lorinroche.com or radiantsutras.com.
wonderful. How exciting. Lauren's approach to meditation is rather unconventional, but this is one of the best parts about it because it's not, a lot of people struggle with conventional meditation, just sitting there, not thinking anything, trying to keep their mind clear. And this is one of many reasons why people give up on meditation. They think, oh, I can't do this,
Yeah,
But
probably
the
most
way that you
people.
meditate is entirely unique, in my opinion, and one of the
Yeah, you
reasons why
can't
I love
do
it.
somebody else. You can't do somebody else's technique. You can only do your own meditation, and it takes a bit of exploring. It's a bit like trying on shoes. Like your friend might have a pair of shoes that you like, they those look cool, but your shoes have to fit your not just your feet, but also where you're going. We get different shoes for hiking and different than dancing. And dancing shoes are very different than like high heel. So shoes that don't wreck your feet. Yeah. So you try them, try them on. And what's weird about it's true about shoes and about meditations. When you wear a shoe that doesn't fit, it damages your feet and makes them sore. And then
Yes.
anything you put on, you can't tell for a while because you've damaged yourself. You can't tell what's a good shoe. Like if you got blisters from wearing the wrong shoes, when you would put on a pair of shoes that even are perfect, they'll hurt. If many people injure themselves slightly, they get sore, kind of blistered and bruised from doing the wrong meditation practice, trying to
Yes.
fit themselves into the wrong schema. And so they have to not meditate for a while to get over it, like let their psyche heal. Meditation, you want your practice to feel like I'm being myself. It's the most
Mm.
comfortable
Yes.
at home experience. And we need that because when we're utterly at ease, then our wounds come up to be healed.
Mm.
So we need
That's
to
what
be
many
in
of
our
us are
true
trying to do
self.
right now, figure out what needs to be healed in our subconscious. So that's,
Yeah. Being
make
at
sure that you
home in the
guys check
self.
out the books because they're on Amazon. Yes, Amazon and Thrift
Yeah.
Books and several other
Yeah. It's
websites. You guys can find them very easily.
Amazon's the easiest way. It's the Radiant Sutras is $10.50 on
I
Amazon.
was gonna say
And
that was quite a deal. I don't know if that's the Black Friday deal or not, but this is a
it
$10
must
book
be a
on
Black
Amazon
Friday
right now,
deal.
you
Instead of
guys. I was so happy when
$22
I
or
saw
something.
that. So yay.
Yeah. It's easier for me to order it from Amazon than to order it wholesale from the publisher. It's easier. It's cheaper. Well, thank you,
Well,
Laura.
any chance we could end our conversation today with one quick little excerpt, maybe in Sanskrit?
Yeah, yeah. So Sutra 16 is this teaching, one of the teachings on mantras. Many of the 112 practices have to do with using the music of the universe and to your power of listening. So in the Sanskrit, there's the 32 syllables. Remember, each verse
Mm.
is these four little phrases of 8 syllables each. So this is one of them. Pranava Adi Samuchara Utante Dunya Bhavana Dunyaya Arya Shakya Dunyatam Iti Bhairavi. So how do we say that in English? Well, pranava is it prana and va. Va is voice or vocalization or vibration. The vibration and prana is of energy, it's vitality. It's that which gives life. It's the universal life force. It's the energy of creation. So pranava is also the song of joy. It's a nickname for Om, the hum of the universe. So it's saying that the hum of the universe is song, and it's a song of joyous expansion. Ucharat, and it's rising always right here. Like the origin of creation wasn't somewhere else, like over there in the past. Creation is actually happening right here always. And the center of the universe is always right here, expanding. And Plutante is be flooded. You are always flooded. I'm always flooded. You're always flooded with the primordial song of the universe. Because you're made out of the universe. So if we let the Sanskrit sing to us, we could say something like the roar of joy that set the worlds in motion is reverberating in your body right now, and the space between all bodies. Beloved, listen, listen. Pranava Adi Samudra.
It always puts me at such peace. Thank you.
Me too.
It's amazing.
Yeah, chanting that text, like I did most of the writing starting at 4 in the morning till about 9 every day for 27 years. And I would take one verse, and after a while, after I'd memorized it and the Sanskrit was just flowing in me as if I'm at a concert, it really felt rich. Like there's a dance playing and singers singing. That'd be 4 in the morning, and it was like being at a party. The Sanskrit really is a party. It's a living, it's a living current of inspiration. Well,
I
come on,
needed
it's your.
that. Thank you.
Go ahead, Laura. What fun to talk with you.
Oh, thank you, Lauren. Really, it's always such a pleasure to speak with you. And I want to say thank you for all of the the mentoring that you've been doing as well, because many of it we've learned a great deal from you over all these podcasts that you've joined us for. So we're very grateful.
You're welcome.
And
Yeah,
make sure you say hello to Camille for us.
I will. Yeah, she's right over there meditating.
Wonderful. Well, thank
Okay,
you also
all
for
right.
getting up so early as well. We're so grateful to you, Lauren. Really, it was wonderful to speak with you today.
Yeah,
Make sure that you guys take up on the offer. Amazon, $10, one of the best deals you can get right now on Amazon, I bet you. So make sure that you guys
yeah.
get the book as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining
Okay,
us today. Always a pleasure.
all
And
right.
thank you also to Lauren and
All right.
Camille.
Okay, see you, everyone.
See you all soon, guys. I'm going to see you guys Friday. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I love you guys. Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye.